This learning module is Direct Instruction for Homeschool Students, and it's presented by Dr. Terry Lapine. The objectives for this training are: learn how to use the direct instruction teaching model in the homeschool setting, learn the sequence of a lesson, learn about applying the teaching model to any appropriate lesson. There's a famous researcher in the area of direct instruction whose name is Barak Rosenshine. And these are some of the comments that Barak Rosenshine says about the research in direct instruction. The belief that students will learn inferentially and incidentally through close, prolonged contact with academic materials is simply not well-founded. To get the message, the students, have to be given the message. So, in other words, a very informal approach to teaching children is what he is saying. A very informal approach is not as effective as teaching them directly. Barak Rosenshine also says that direct instruction may be the most effective method at any grade level when mastery of basic skills is the goal. This general set of teaching behaviors was consistently found to produce results superior to those obtained by less direct teaching approaches. Direct instruction is intended to make learning easier by first breaking down complex tasks to their component parts, and then teaching those components, and then demonstrating to students how the components are combined again. Research on direct instruction says that direct instruction provides a comprehensive set of prescriptions for organizing instruction so that students can acquire, retain, and generalize new learning in as humane, efficient, and effective manner possible. In a direct instruction lesson, there are 5 steps in the format of the lesson that need to be covered daily. And those are, first of all, you have a daily review, and the daily review is reviewing something that was taught previously, something maybe that was taught yesterday or last week that needs to be reviewed. Okay, so a brief review. And then there's a lesson presentation where the teacher is demonstrating and modeling the new learning for the student. And then there's guided practice where the teacher and the student are working together to learn the new skill or concept. And step 4 is independent practice, and that's where the student really shows the teacher that they have an understanding, a strong understanding of what was taught. And then finally, there's a review again that reviews the lesson for today. So you go over what the child did in independent practice and just review the concept of the day. So the heart of the lesson, remember, this is like a sandwich with the 2 slices of bread being the beginning and the ending reviews. Remember, step 1 and step 5 were reviews. And the heart, the part that goes in between the pieces of the bread, the really good part, is the lesson presentation, the guided practice, and the independent practice. And it's easier to remember it this way. The lesson presentation is the I do it part. I do it, I demonstrate it, I model it. I am showing what this concept or skill is all about to the child. Then, so that's the I do it phase. And then guided practice is the we do it. Now I'm doing this with my student. My student is engaged in learning and knowing the concept or the skill that I'm teaching. And then there's independent practice, where now the student is independent and they show me, the student shows me that they can do it. And the student is working independently, and this is kind of the assessment phase where you see if what I taught was actually learned. So it's the I do it, we do it, you do it model. And remember, that's the inside of the sandwich. The outside are reviews. Both sides, review in the beginning and reviewing in the end. So, to go back and go through each component of a direct instruction lesson in a little more detail, the daily review should be just approximately 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes. And it's reviewing previous skills and concepts learned. It could be something from yesterday or something from last week you feel like needs to be reviewed again before you move on. And then there's a brief reteaching where it's needed if you see that the skill is not as strong as you want it to be or need it to be. And then there's the lesson presentation. This is the I do it part. This is the part where you tell the child, give them a brief overview of what they're learning today. So the explicit lesson objectives. You just say, today we're going to be working on compound words or whatever the lesson is. And then skills and concepts. You need to teach the skills and concepts before the child is expected to use them. And in education, we sometimes make the mistake of expecting the child to know something before we've actually taught it. We don't mean to put them in that position, but we do, just by asking questions sometimes. We ask them questions and we haven't yet taught them what we want them to know. And then there's clear instruction. We want to provide demonstrations and modeling, and you see that that is highlighted. This is the part where you show them through either modeling the concept or the skill, or demonstrating for them. And you use a consistent format from lesson to lesson, so the child has only to attend to the new information. So if it's consistent, if the lesson is consistent, the child only has to focus on what is the new learning for that lesson. It's a really important concept, and not stressed that much in education, not as much as it should be in education. And this is especially true for children who have a tendency to struggle a bit. They respond much better if there's a consistent format. And then you want to provide sufficient examples for the child to get the information you're trying to teach. And of course, very important all the way through a direct instruction lesson is checking for understanding as the lesson proceeds. You want to make sure they're getting it as you go. And so that you can do that by observing, by asking questions, asking their feedback, lots of ways to check for understanding, but it needs to be throughout the lesson. Then you want to review difficult concepts several times so that they understand them. The third step in a direct instruction lesson is guided practice, and this is the we do it part. Your child practices with your guidance, and again I have here check for understanding. You're watching as the guided practice proceeds to make sure that the child is understanding what is being taught. You're asking frequent questions for practice. You clarify as you need to. And then the next part is a very important part, and this is how do we correct or give feedback to a student in a direct instruction lesson. And it's very specific, and it's very positive for the child. First of all, if there's a correct response, you acknowledge it by saying, that's right. And if there's a hesitant response, but it is correct, we want to say something like, yes, that's right, because, and then explain why they got it right. And then if there's an incorrect response, we simply say the correct answer is whatever it is, and then move on quickly. We don't say, no, that's not right. Nothing like that. We want to keep it very positive. The correct answer is, and then give them the correct answer, move right on. Guided practice continues until your child has met the objectives of the lesson with 80% success or better. So you're checking for understanding. When you get to you get a sense that it's around 80% correct, 8 out of 10 times. then you can feel secure that they know the concept. Step number 4 in a direct instruction lesson is independent practice. And this is the I do it, or you do it, I'm sorry. Independent practice is the you do it part. This is where the child is showing you they know how to, or they know the new information that you've taught today. And this is, so we're assessing what the child has learned. We're practicing direct, relevant skills and concepts taught. The child does it himself or herself. We practice to overlearning. So we want them not just to know it, but to overlearn it. And that is important in some areas like math facts and knowing sight words, and other areas. We want them to overlearn it so that there's not a day when they don't know it. When they're initially learning, there may be a day that they feel they're very strong, and then the following day you might notice that it's not as strong, and they may not remember what they learned the day before, and that's the purpose for wanting to overlearn. And then we want to be sure your child knows what the independent work that the independent work they're doing will be checked. We can't just give that to them as an exercise and then not go back and check it. We want to make sure they know that it's going to be checked and that the work they do is valuable. And the 5th, this is one of the pieces of bread of the sandwich, and that is the final review. And you want to systematically review previously learned material or information. Basically, you want to review the lesson for today. You reteach the material or information missed during the independent practice. So this is an opportunity to review and reteach. Now, if you would, I want you to think about the 5 steps of a direct instruction lesson and see if you can say those to yourself. Remember the sandwich. Now let's review those together. Number 1, review. Number 2, lesson presentation. Number 3, guided practice. Number 4, independent practice. And number 5 is review again. Those are so important and critical to, all of those are critical to a direct instruction lesson. Now, here are some tips for preparing your own lesson. Remember, we want to cover all 5 steps. And then by writing out a lesson carefully until you're comfortable with the direct instruction lesson format really helps. So try that. I actually write out direct instruction lessons often when I teach a direct instruction lesson. So try that, writing out the lesson until you're really comfortable with the instructional format. And then apply this to most lessons that you teach that require learning new skills or concepts. And then when you're ready to present your own lesson, practice, practice, practice. Do it several times. And I don't mean you have to practice before you present your lesson, but I mean present several lessons as practice to your child. And then reflect on the lesson parts after you deliver the lesson. What went well? Ask yourself, what went well? What needs to be adjusted the next time I teach a direct instruction lesson? And how well did my child respond? Those are the questions you want to ask after each lesson that you teach, so that the child gets the biggest benefit out of each lesson. If you have questions or comments regarding this presentation, you're welcome to contact me, Dr. Terry Lapine, and here's my contact information.